Hi there. Thanks for joining us for our devotional today. Pastor Solo here. Today I'm looking at Psalms chapter 23 and verse 2. I was just thinking about this devotion this morning and thinking, what are the things that are really challenging during this season of COVID-19? And one thing that came to my mind right away was the queues that you have to go on now with when you go for your groceries. When you get to Walmart, you have to wait outside, and then you get inside, and then there's markings you have to follow along the way. And sometimes it can be challenging to see other people, not following the signs on the floor. And sometimes it can be frustrating when other people are not kind of like paying attention and they can get too close to you. And sometimes you're at home for a long time with your family, and sometimes it seems like there's lots of things that can easily get to your nerve. And so when I was thinking about this devotion here, I remembered that I used to have this chapter. There's just this beautiful chapter of Psalms 23 memorized, and it used to be just a comfort and just a wonderful thing to recite and share with my friends. But this morning it spoke to me specifically, especially this part here. Verse 2 tells us that He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the quiet waters. So the still waters. Some versions say the still waters. So yeah, God leads us to the still waters. So how can you be still in the midst of a crisis? What helps you to stay still in the midst of challenging times? I think you might be wondering, why should I bother with being still after all? What's the benefit of having stillness in my soul or in my life? Some of the reasons that I found that were interesting is that, when you are still, you think clearly, and that will help you to be able to make decisions that you will not regret in the future. Another reason is that you will have better health, as you'll be able to make choices that will help you to be able to avoid things like depression, mental health, heart problems, high stress in your life, and life complications, health complications after all. And then the third reason that I found is that when you are still, you're able to direct your energies to things that can help you stay positive and be able to enjoy life. So being still is important. I think we can agree that it is important for us to be able to stay still so that we can be able to live positive lives. So now, but how do we get to experience this peace, this stillness when things are getting in on our nerves? In fact, there's just, when you read verse 1 of this chapter, it just says, "The Lord is my shepherd." The Lord is my shepherd. And I don't know about you, but I have had the opportunity to be kind of like a shepherd, a quasi-shepherd, so to say. I had an opportunity to look after some goats, my grandma's goats, for some time. But one thing that I can tell you is that during those times, I did not take these goats to the still waters and then force them to drink. I led them to the waters, and then when I get there, they still had to drink the water by themselves. Right? So God is leading us to the still waters, but we have to drink from the waters that is basically leading us to. So let's follow a few verses here to help us understand how God is intending to shepherd us. A good example comes from Matthew chapter 2 verse 6. It tells us that out of you will come a ruler who will be the shepherd of my people. So out of Judah will come this ruler who will be a shepherd of God's people. And so this ruler is an introduction here when Matthew introduces Jesus. So Jesus is this wonderful ruler who becomes the shepherd of God's people. In fact, in John chapter 10, verse 10, Jesus describes himself as a shepherd. He is the shepherd. So Jesus is our shepherd. So that means he brings us that those characteristics of a shepherd. And sometimes we wonder, like, how do you get to be still when things get into your nerve and when life gets even more tough, right? When you lose your loved one and you can't even attend their burial. I think when you get to such moments, you have to realize that this stillness that Jesus is providing to the people, or to the people that he's shepherding, goes beyond life. A good example comes to us from Revelation chapter 7, verse 16 and 17. And it reads, so this is a promise that God is making to his people, to those that will follow this shepherd. Never again will they hunger, and never will they thirst, nor will the sun beat down upon them, nor any scorching heat. For the lamp in the center of the throne will be their shepherd. He will lead them to springs of living water, and God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. Revelation chapter 21 verse 6 reads, and he told me, it is done. I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. To the thirsty, I will give freely from the spring of the water of life. So you see, my friend, this shepherd is leading us to these still waters, and not just still waters in this life. Yes, God wants us to give us peace in this life so that we can be peaceful when we go to Walmart, for example, so that we can be peaceful when we are at home and we get annoyed with our children. We get annoyed sometimes with our spouses. We can't say that too loud because they might get upset already. But yeah, we do get upset with people, with situations, but this stillness that God is leading us to is beyond this life. It's throughout eternity. We will have life now in its abundance, as Jesus says, and we will continue with that life in its abundance throughout the future. So you might be asking yourself, but how do I find myself now? There are three things that I think you can consider here. I think this is a personal, something that you have to make personable and practical to your life, right? So I think it's important for you to realize the importance of scheduling time just to be still. No interference with your phones, no interference with your email, no interference with life. Just ask, if you are a married couple like myself, I still have a young family, ask your wife, your partner, can I have half an hour just to, just still my mind and be able to be calm? So take that time. And when you are taking that time, the second thing that you have to do, make sure that you're not just, doing what they tell us now, Eastern meditation, whereby you go, corner. No, don't do that part. So find God's word and find his promises and store them in your mind. That is the best thing that you could ever do to yourself, because when you have God's promises, then they help you as well to stay positive. Then another thing, the last thing that I think you should take forward here, is to make sure that you repeat these promises to yourself throughout the day, so that you remember them, get to know that these promises are going to eventually be fulfilled in your life. In fact, some of them are already fulfilled in your life today, right now. So you can have this life and live peacefully. God is calling us to live a peaceful life. Come and experience a peaceful, still soul in Jesus.